Commander Vextar of the Galactic Enforcement Division had endured 3 centuries of service, and in that time he had witnessed every variety of reckless idiocy the stars had to offer. He had seen pirates attempt to ram battlecruisers with lumbering cargo haulers. He had seen smugglers foolish enough to hide contraband inside reactor cores. He had even sat through politicians swearing they were incapable of dishonesty. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the spectacle unfolding aboard the human vessel Lucky Strike. "Sir," whispered his tactical officer, Kryn, her 4 eyes blinking in neat succession, "are we entirely certain these beings qualify as sentient?" Through the reinforced transparasteel of the observation deck, Vextar studied the humans as they moved about their routines, or what passed for routines. One female with a fiery knot of orange hair was juggling what looked disturbingly like active plasma charges. Nearby, a male with deliberately patterned facial hair drank a steaming concoction that hissed as he swallowed, sighing with deep satisfaction. "According to the Terran Diplomatic Corps, yes," Vextar answered, his mandibles clicking in what humans might interpret as an uneasy laugh. "Though I admit, I've begun questioning their evaluation metrics." The Lucky Strike had been flagged for nothing more than a routine inspection upon crossing into Hegemony space. Simple procedure. Yet every moment since requesting permission to board had been anything but. Their captain, a woman named Alex Martinez, had greeted the enforcement team with cheer, answering the inspection request while simultaneously devouring a sandwich spiked with enough capsicum to kill a Vorthan battle rhino. She had even offered to share. The offer was declined at once, after the translator flagged 17 compounds in the food, at least 4 of which were listed as chemical weapons across multiple star systems. And then there was the ship itself. Human engineering, it seemed, approached safety the way poets approached rhyme. Optional. The Lucky Strike's reactor blazed at 110% efficiency, an impossibility by every standard manual. Their gravity plating had been set to 1.2 standard, leaving Vextar's squad stumbling like unhatched larvae. The very air mix carried so much oxygen that the vessel was a bomb waiting for a single errant spark. "Sir." Communications Officer Blipter's voice cut through his thoughts, tinged with the dread that heralded disaster. "The human captain requests permission to demonstrate their hospitality customs in the main cargo bay." Vextar's secondary stomachs nodded. In his long experience, when a species insisted on customs demonstrations, it invariably ended in someone being injured, poisoned, or both. He exhaled slowly. "Very well. Keep the medical bay primed. And perhaps alert the chaplain." The cargo bay of the Lucky Strike embodied humanity's approach to order. If it fit, it stayed. If it didn't fit, force it until it did. Crates teetered in arrangements that mocked both physics and common sense. Power cables sprawled across the deck like abstract art, more suggestion than functional wiring. And at the center of it all stood Captain Martinez, her grin wide, bright, and full of the kind of confidence Vextar had come to associate with catastrophe. "Welcome aboard the Lucky Strike," she declared, arms thrown wide. "We're honored to host the Galactic Enforcement Division on our humble little ship." Humble, right? Vextar's gaze swept the chamber. A fusion cutter dangling from a tool belt, an industrial plasma torch pressed into service as a reading lamp, and, most disturbingly, a miniature singularity generator labeled emergency coffee maker. "We appreciate your cooperation, Captain," Vextar said carefully. "Your vessel and crew are unique." Martinez laughed. "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet." That laugh tripped every alarm bell in his instincts. Vextar's threat assessment routines surged to maximum readiness. "Jake," Martinez called, "toss me the number 7. A human male, sporting the ornate facial hair, reached into a crate and casually lobbed something through the air. Vextar's vision enhancements identified it instantly. A monomolecular-edged combat knife, armor-piercing, military-grade, capable of slicing battle plate as if it were parchment. And Captain Martinez caught it. By the hilt. Without even looking, the cargo bay went silent enough that Vextar could hear the blood rushing through his own circulatory sac. His security team froze in the precise stillness that preceded a draw-and-fire response. Behind him, Kryn emitted a strangled noise, somewhere between a hiss and a balloon collapsing. Martinez inspected the weapon with casual appreciation, as though examining a stylus rather than a blade that could bisect a mech. Beautiful craftsmanship, she mused. Carbon-titanium alloy, quantum-honed edge, ergonomic grip built for long engagements. She glanced up with that same dangerous smile. Picked it up at a Vega system trade station. Vendor swore it was only lightly used. Lightly used. Vextar's mind reeled. A weapon that could decapitate war machines, and humans described it like a second-hand utensil. Suddenly, he began to understand why the Terran diplomatic corps struggled so profoundly in fostering peaceful relations. "That is an impressive blade, Captain," he managed, steadying his voice by sheer discipline. "Perhaps you might set it aside. My security team grows uneasy around sharp implements." "Oh, this old thing?" Martinez flipped the knife skyward. The blade rotated precisely 3 times before dropping back into her palm, landing as if gravity itself bent to her command. "It's just a utility knife," Martinez said lightly. "Jake uses it to open packages. Sometimes," Jake added helpfully, "I use it to trim my beard. Works great for that too." Vextar felt the twitch begin in his left eye. In the Hegemony military, a blade of that caliber required special clearance, extensive training, and psychological evaluation before anyone was permitted even to touch one. The humans? They wielded them for grooming. "Captain," he said slowly, forcing composure, "would you indulge me by explaining where you learned to handle bladed weapons with such skill?" "Oh, that!" Martinez spun the knife between her fingers as though it were a child's toy. "Standard primary education on Terra. Everyone learns the basics. Comes right after arithmetic." She shrugged. "And right before applied chemistry." "Applied chemistry?" Vextar filed a mental note to request a full review of Terran educational methods when he returned to headquarters, perhaps followed by a psychological assessment of the entire species. "I see," he murmured. "And this is considered normal for human children?" "Not the advanced modules," Martinez clarified. "We don't start them on explosives until secondary school. Safety first, you know." Behind Vextar, his medical officer whispered a prayer in the ancient tongue. The commander opened his mandibles to reply, then froze as Martinez casually flicked the knife across the bay. The blade sailed cleanly through the air and buried itself in a painted target on the far wall, dead center, quivering with the impact. "Impressive accuracy," Vextar admitted, struggling to keep his tone neutral. "Thanks," Martinez said brightly. "I was on the throwing team at university. Made regionals 3 years in a row." She strolled across the deck, retrieving the knife with the nonchalance of long practice. "Of course, competition's nothing compared to actual combat applications. Still, good for hand-eye coordination." Competitive throwing, Vextar thought bleakly. They had turned deadly weaponry into organized sport. He began to suspect humanity's meteoric spread across the stars had little to do with technology or tactic. It was simply that other species had looked at them, and chosen not to fight. "Captain," he tried again, seizing another angle, "your crew seems remarkably relaxed. Especially around dangerous equipment." "Well, of course," Martinez said, as though explaining the most basic truth in the galaxy. "Tools are only as dangerous as the people handling them. And I've got a good crew." She gestured toward Jake, now juggling 3 smaller knives while humming a tune that sounded suspiciously like a nursery song. Jake there served 6 years with the Terran Deep Space Marines. Lisa, our engineer, used to do demolition work for a mining outfit. And Mike, our pilot, flew fighters before he went civilian. Fighter ace. Demolitions expert. Deep Space Marine. This wasn't a cargo crew, it was a warband masquerading as merchants. and judging by their ease, they believed the illusion themselves. "And you, Captain?" Vextar pressed. "What's your background?" Martinez smiled, warmth in her eyes that somehow made the chill beneath it even sharper. "Me? I'm just a humble hauler, trying to make an honest living." Before Vextar could question further, the ship's alarms howled to life. Not the polite chimes of civilized species, but a shrill, bone-deep wail that screamed imminent destruction. "Proximity alert," came the disembodied voice over the comm, 3 vessels inbound. "Configuration matches Korthak raiders." The change in Martinez was instantaneous. One moment cheerful host. The next, hardened commander, calculating, decisive, every syllable clipped with authority. "Jake, weapons. Lisa, shields and engines to full. Mike, evasive pattern Delta 7. She turned to Vextar, her expression grave. "Commander, I'm afraid this inspection will have to wait. Your ship should clear the area. Korthak raiders rarely take prisoners." Vextar's thoughts reeled. "Weapons? On a cargo vessel? Captain, perhaps we should signal the Hegemony fleet." "The nearest patrol is 4 hours away," Martinez cut in. "We'll be debris long before then." She was already moving toward a section of wall he had taken for storage. Instead, it hissed open to reveal an armory, ample enough to make a battlecruiser envious. "Don't worry, Commander," she said briskly. "We've dealt with Korthak before." The ship shuddered as the first volley slammed into their shields. Through the viewport, Vextar glimpsed the attackers. 3 sleek predators closing in fast, hulls bristling with weapons. Korthak raiders, nightmares of the outer systems. Swift, ruthless, engineered for slaughter. Their crews, butchers without mercy. And the humans intended to fight them. "Captain," Vextar urged, "this is a cargo vessel. You can't possibly." The deck lurched violently as Mike hurled them into evasive maneuvers so brutal they should have liquefied every organ aboard. Yet the humans merely adjusted their stances, unfazed, continuing their work as though turbulence were an idle nuisance. "Sir," Carwin's voice cracked behind him, tight with panic. "The human ship it's returning fire." Through the viewport, Commander Vextar could only stare in shock as concealed weapon ports irised open along the Lucky Strike's hull. What unfolded was not the light defensive shielding one might expect of a merchant vessel. No, what extended outward were military-grade particle cannons, plasma torpedo bays, and something that looked disturbingly like a gravity lance. A moment later, the first Korthak raider blossomed into a fireball, fragments scattering into the void. "How?" Vextar whispered. "Surplus military hardware," Martinez replied casually, tightening the straps on what at first looked like a utility vest but revealed itself to be full combat armor in disguise. "Turns out the Terran Navy offloads a lot of outdated equipment to civilian contractors. Great bargains. Minimal paperwork." She hefted an energy rifle capable of shredding battle armor. "And let's be honest, cargo hauling can be risky work. You never know what you'll run into out here." The second raider attempted a flanking maneuver, but Mike anticipated, rolling the ship hard and bringing them nose on. Torpedoes flared away in a perfect spread. The detonation washed the bay in blinding light, a second sun blossoming in the void. "2 down," Jake announced cheerfully from weapons. "Third one's running." "Let him go," Martinez ordered. "No sense being wasteful." Wasteful. They had reduced 2 heavily armed raiders to drifting wreckage in less than 3 minutes, and their concern was efficiency. As the alert faded and systems returned to standby, Vextar found himself studying Captain Martinez with new eyes. This was no mere cargo captain. This was a commander who could annihilate raiders in open combat, and then resume business as usual. "Captain," he said carefully, "I believe I must revise my assessment of your vessel." Martinez smiled, cleaning the combat knife with deliberate calm before sliding it back into its sheath. "Oh, Commander," she said softly, "you haven't seen anything yet." Hours later, the Lucky Strike sailed smoothly on course. Crew drifted back to their routines as though nothing unusual had occurred. For Vextar, however, every detail of the resumed inspection had shifted meaning under this new perspective. That industrial equipment in engineering? A reactor core capable of powering a battle station. That navigation computer? A tactical AI sophisticated enough to orchestrate multi-system fleet maneuvers. The cargo containers? He had stopped asking altogether after learning one held enough antimatter to vitrify a moon. Commander, Zliktar, his science officer, whispered at his side, translator choking over what seemed like nervous laughter. I have finished analyzing their medical bay. And Vextar braced himself. They possess surgical tools fit for battlefield amputations, combat stimulants that sustain soldiers for 3 days straight, and regeneration pods capable of regrowing limbs. Zliktar hesitated. Also, their basic first aid kits contain technology more advanced than our primary sickbay. Of course they did. To humans, battlefield surgery appeared to qualify as routine care. Sir. Kryn approached, looking more unsettled than usual. I spoke with their engineer, Lisa. She showed me their emergency power system. Vextar waited. He had learned interruptions only made such reports worse. It's a miniature black hole, Commander. They're harnessing controlled gravitational collapse as backup power. When I asked about safety protocols, she laughed and said they hadn't had an accident in months. They measured time between civilization-ending disasters in months. Everything all right, Commander? Vextar nearly flinched. Martinez had appeared beside him, silent as a predator despite her heavy boots. That human ability to move without sound never ceased to unnerve him. You look pale, she added lightly. Well, paler than your kind's usual shade. Captain, Vextar began cautiously, I am forced to conclude your ship is not quite what it presents itself to be. Martinez tilted her head, feigning innocence. What gave it away? The hidden weapons? The cargo reactor cores? Or maybe Jake's victory dance after we vaporized those raiders? All of the above, Vextar admitted grimly. And I have reviewed your cruise records. Your pilot, Mike, holds more confirmed kills than some fighter wings. Your engineer, Lisa, was decorated for turning a mining laser into an orbital bombardment platform. And your communications officer, Tommy? Martinez nodded. Signals intelligence specialist. Once hacked an entire enemy fleet. He's good, though a bit cranky if you interrupt his crossword puzzles. Crossword puzzles. The being capable of collapsing military encryption fleets entertained himself with word games. Captain, Vextar said finally, I must ask, why are you in cargo hauling at all? Why not serve in your military? Martinez's smile faded to something more thoughtful. Well, the pay's better here. We get to travel, meet interesting people, and sometimes, she added with a flash of teeth, we get to blow things up without all the paperwork. Martinez swept a hand around the ship as if the answer were self-evident. Military service was great, don't misunderstand me. But there's something to be said for working on your own terms. Vextar tilted his head. And your government simply allows former Special Forces personnel to roam the galaxy with firepower sufficient to level cities? Why wouldn't they? Martinez looked genuinely puzzled by the question. We're responsible adults. We know how to use dangerous tools safely. And if someone does cause trouble, she shrugged lightly. Well, problem solved. Vextar's worldview wavered yet again. The humans weren't concealing their arsenal for some sinister purpose. They carried it openly because they considered it ordinary. An entire species that treated weapons of mass destruction the way others treated kitchen utensils. Commander! Blipter's voice crackled through the comm. We're receiving a distress call. Hegemony transport peaceful endeavor. They're under attack by unidentified hostiles and request immediate aid. Martinez was already striding for the bridge before Vextar could react. How far? She demanded. 20 minutes at maximum burn, Mike reported from the pilot's station. Too long, Martinez muttered. Lisa, can you squeeze more speed out of her? I can try, Lisa's voice came from engineering. But I'll need to bypass a few safety protocols. Do it. Vextar watched in horrified fascination as the transformation began. The easygoing merchants vanished, replaced by a disciplined combat unit operating with clockwork precision. Jake bent over the weapons console, calculating firing solutions. Tommy's hands blurred across his station as he dissected the distress signal for tactical data. Mike refined approach vectors that balanced offense and survival with mathematical elegance. And at the heart of it all stood Martinez, conducting the storm like a maestro of controlled destruction. Contact, Tommy announced. Reading 6 heavy cruisers. Configuration matches Thackeray supremacy. They have the transport surrounded. The name sent ice through Vextar's veins. The Thackeray were among the most ruthless expansionist powers in known space, their military doctrine defined by overwhelming fire and 0 survivors. Their cruisers were mobile fortresses, built to grind fleets into dust. Captain, he said urgently, the Thackeray never take prisoners. And 6 cruisers is about what we faced at the Battle of Kepler Station, Martinez interrupted crisply. Except this time, no collateral concerns. She turned to her crew. You know the drill. Jake, target engines first, disable if you can. Tommy, jam their comms. Mike, get us in close and keep us moving. Jake glanced up. Weapons lock warnings? Standard procedure is to offer them a chance to surrender. Martinez's smile was as sharp as the knife she'd twirled earlier. Tommy, open a channel. Channel open. Martinez's voice rang out, cool and commanding. Thackeray vessels, this is Captain Martinez of the Lucky Strike. You are attacking a Hegemony transport in violation of interstellar law. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came in the form of a plasma barrage screaming toward their hull. Mike rolled the ship away with effortless grace. Well, Martinez said cheerfully, I tried diplomacy. Jake, your weapons free. Show them what human hospitality looks like. What followed was not a battle. It was a master class in violence applied with surgical precision. The Lucky Strike plunged into the Thackeray formation like a predator into a flock. Their opening volley crippled the lead cruiser's engines, sending it spinning out of control. A second shot gutted the weapons array of another. The third cruiser attempted a desperate ramming maneuver, only to vanish in a flash that seared the viewport. Oops, Jake said with mock contrition. Guess I had that one set a little high. It happens, Martinez replied calmly, as Mike threaded them between 2 more cruisers and Jake dismantled their systems piece by piece. Just leave some survivors for questioning. In less than 10 minutes, 4 cruisers hung disabled, drifting helplessly. The 5th limped away at flank speed, while the 6th chose surrender, broadcasting capitulation signals on every frequency. Tommy, Martinez ordered, patch me through to the Peaceful Endeavor. A voice, trembling with disbelief, filled the channel. This is Captain Yilther of the transport Peaceful Endeavor. We thank you for your aid. How did you destroy 6 heavy cruisers so quickly? Martinez shot Vextar an amused glance. Just lucky, I suppose. Do you require medical assistance? And no, we are unharmed. But how? Our sensors still register your vessel as a civilian cargo hauler. That's because we are a civilian cargo hauler, Martinez said matter-of-factly. We're simply very good at our job. Later, as patrol ships arrived to secure the prisoners, Vextar found himself standing beside Martinez in the observation lounge. Beyond the transparastile, the hulks of Thackeray cruisers drifted under Hegemony guard. Captain, Vextar said finally, mandibles tight, I must ask, is this normal? For human cargo operations. Define normal, Martinez said, pouring herself a steaming cup of that unnerving beverage she seemed to relish. We don't run into pirates every day. Maybe once or twice a week tops. Once or twice a week. Encounters with military-grade threats, and they regarded it as routine. What I fail to understand, Vextar said, mandibles tightening, is why the Galactic Council ever classified humanity as a peaceful trading species. Your capabilities suggest the opposite. Martinez laughed, and this time it was utterly genuine. Commander, I think you're misunderstanding something fundamental about us. We are a peaceful trading species. We just happen to be really good at violence when circumstances demand it. But your weaponry, your training, your casual regard for mortal danger. All perfectly ordinary for us, Martinez finished without hesitation. See, humans learned long ago that if you want peace, you must prepare for war. We're not violent by instinct, Commander. We're violent because survival demanded it, and we became very good at it. She gestured toward the viewport, where Hegemony patrol ships were now corralling the disabled Thackeray cruisers. Those raiders attacked because they assumed the transport was defenseless. They calculated the profits outweighed the risks of retaliation. What they didn't consider was the chance that a harmless cargo hauler might be crewed by former military professionals with enough firepower to level a city. Vextar nodded slowly. So your apparent harmlessness is a deterrent in itself. Exactly. Martinez's grin was sharp, but there was pride in it. Most species look at us and see either primitive warmongers or naive merchants. They never imagine we could be both or neither. The categories themselves don't quite fit. And the knife throwing? Vextar pressed. The casual handling of advanced weaponry? Cultural holdovers, Martinez said easily. Evolution demanded adaptability, creativity, and skill at killing threat. We carried those instincts into the stars. Just because we achieved spaceflight doesn't mean we forgot. A chill crawled through Vextar's carapace. Captain, are you suggesting that every human cargo ship in the galaxy is a potential military danger? Oh no, Martinez replied reassuringly. Most are ordinary merchants with modest defenses. Relief touched Vextar, until she continued. It's just the ones like us you should worry about. You know, former special forces, discharged intelligence officers, ex-military crews. There are only a few thousand of us out here. A few thousand. Vextar's stomachs twisted. Thousands of vessels crewed by humans who treated annihilating heavy cruisers as routine cargo protection, spread across the galaxy, disguised as harmless traders. Captain Martinez, he said carefully, I believe I must file a report recommending that humanity's threat assessment be significantly revised. That's probably wise, Martinez said with a shrug. But word it diplomatically. Humans don't like being misunderstood. And you really don't want us feeling threatened. Later, as the Lucky Strike prepared to resume its cargo route, Vextar sat before a blank communications form. His claws tapped at the console, mandibles flexing in frustration. How did one explain to command that they were sharing the galaxy with a species capable of conquering half of known space, without even breaking stride, and that these same potential conquerors were currently bickering about delivery schedules? At last he typed, recommend immediate review of human threat assessment. Current classification of peaceful trading species inadequate. Suggest revised classification. Friendly neighborhood apocalypse. He paused. Then, with grim practicality, added, also recommend drafting formal diplomatic protocols for knife-throwing demonstrations, for safety purposes. As the Lucky Strike leapt into hyperspace, Vextar made a private note to request reassignment to a quiet sector. Somewhere far from human shipping lanes. Somewhere safe. Yet, in his heart, he suspected such places might no longer exist. In a galaxy where humans casually hauled cargo while carrying the means of planetary conquest, safety was a relative concept. And somehow, against all logic, that thought was oddly comforting. Closing message to audience. If you've journeyed this far, traveler, thank you for stepping aboard the Lucky Strike. Humanity's place among the stars is never simple, never safe, and never boring. If you enjoyed this tale, consider subscribing for more stories like it. Share your thoughts in the comments. What kind of worlds, species, and strange encounters would you like to see next? And don't forget to like and share this story with others who dream of distant galaxies. After all, the universe is vast, dangerous, and wondrous, and together, we've only just begun to explore it.